You'll always be my night sky. You're the night sky hiding behind dark gray clouds. I can't figure you out now. I see you're blue. There is so much cold in you, and the silence is so loud when you go. I just stay dancing with my shadow all day. Watch the tide. I can't find the point where our two paths align. But you're the night sky. I'm trying to see your stars, but I've always feared the dark. Now I see brightly. I can feel your silence. You always feel so far, and your stars have burnt out, and your heart makes no sound. I'll find violet in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky. Be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky. Be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky.
I get lost inside my thoughts, and when I start to think, oh, how close it starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe, and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? I don't wanna say goodbye. I forgive the pain you gave to me so long ago. Sleepless nights I laid awake just begging to let go. I almost got to suicidal thoughts, but you stepped in. An angel sent from heaven showed me how to live again. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe, and I don't want to die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't want to say goodbye. My love, I'm gone. I need to be strong. The darkness had tried to swallow me. Some days I fall, but I hear your call. I pray I don't get to cry. Gravity. 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 Gravity.
Baby, wait, I know that you're afraid, but it'll be okay if you just stay with me. We can run from here and we can disappear, and they won't find us where we are going, dear. So baby, hold on to me, 'cause I know I can make you believe in something that only we can see. Oh, so baby, hold on to me. 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 Hold on to
Hi. Hi, Yolanda. What's up?
I'm good,
I'm
thanks. And how
fine.
are you?
Cool. So good to be here.
It's nice to have you.
Yay.
Well, actually, good morning to you.
Mhm.
Good evening.
The sun shining out of my window. I have great lighting. Thanks for
Oh,
meeting
wow.
me.
Lights. It's
Yeah.
tough for us, so we have to use lights.
Mhm. The
Yeah.
strange late time is my fault, everyone. Hi.
Wow, can we get started?
Let's do it.
Okay, so for those who are at home who don't know who Kendra Havens is, she is a program manager at Microsoft on the .NET team and Visual Studio team. Her focus is .NET productivity and the testing experience in Visual Studio. In addition to an unruly enthusiasm for technology, Kendra loves reading and Beat Saber. So Kendra, tell me more about yourself. What brought you into tech? Or how
Yeah.
did you get into tech?
So many good things. So I kind of this is a long story. I don't know how much we went into this when we were chatting earlier. But I got
Yeah.
into tech through definitely a non-traditional path, I guess. One of my friends calls it like, were you born with a keyboard in your mouth? And I don't think I was to a certain degree. I had a computer in my home, which was definitely like a privilege, but it was shared and it was mostly my dad's and my older brother, so I never got to use it. But I was majoring in French in college, and I realized that I didn't know what like job options are really attached to my major. I wasn't sure I really liked translating. I wasn't sure I really liked teaching French in like a U.S. high school or something like that. And I really wanted to build something at the end of it. I kind of chose French major because I was interested in it, and everyone says major in what you love. But then I realized I really wanted a job that I loved too. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. So I kind of had a panic, and that's when I started learning Python. And I rolled in my first computer science class when I was a junior in university. So I started a little bit later, and I just really, really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I kind of got interested in like translation software because I'm not too good at French. Uh, so I needed some help, and I was amazed at how computers can index, hundreds of thousands of words and semantic similarities across so many languages. I loved Google Translate, and I was reading their articles on how they do what was it called at that time? They were coming up with like semantic maps for just by running bilingual dictionaries through their program and mapping how similar words were and how much they appeared together, and that's kind of how they built up their software instead of having I don't know. Instead of trying to program in grammar and a lot of some of this other stuff, they kind of started with semantics, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lucked out. I started my first computer science class, and I got into a Microsoft Explorer internship for people who are early in the computer science program, and the rest is history.
And you're now a senior.
And now I'm a senior. I'm like an adult. People expect me to have it together. It's the worst. No, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. So the title of today's show is From Mentee to Mentor. So did you have any mentoring done in the past? Like, who was your mentor? What did you learn from that? How did you get to the point where you are because of your mentor?
Yeah, I had a bunch of really badass mentors. I owe so much of where I am today because people were willing to reach out to me. I could list dozens of people. I think officially there was Glenn Condron, he's on Twitter, Philip Carter, John Maroff, Rich Lander. He was one of my first bosses, and oh my gosh, so many names. I'm just gonna feel bad about people and leave out, but I was always asking for people's input, and sometimes it was just like, can we grab a coffee? Because I'm freaking out about this one thing, and I needed to vent. And I had some people who, yeah, were just there for me, and I really wasn't expecting that. I think I thought I would go to a professional workplace and I wouldn't have friends for some reason. And instead I made friends. So I didn't have the expectation kind of. I thought everyone was like, when I first got there, almost everyone was like guys. So I wasn't like sure. I don't know. There was a bit of a feeling of I don't belong, but then I got to know them, and I think I really lucked out on like the team that I worked on and everything, and so many helped me along, and I had a lot of different kinds of mentors too. So there were people I could like vent to. There were people that could unblock me when I had a technical issue or like a spec organization politics kind of issue. There were people who I talked with about like my long-term career, and then there were like philosophers that I got to talk with, like Dustin Campbell or Mads Torgerson, or Neil Gafter actually met with me when I was a wee young intern. He designed like Java 4 and 5, I think. I can't remember. He was in charge of Java at one point, which was a huge deal. So we got to talk a lot about design at some point, and I've just getting the chance to get kind of surrounded by those people and see how their minds work was really interesting.
Awesome. I think for me, mentorship is a two-way street where if you're mentoring somebody, you also have to, it's like you're adding value to that person's life or career, depending on what kind of mentorship you guys are actually embarking on. And the mentee itself, they also have to add value into the mentor's, life. I don't know how, but hey, it happens. So what are your thoughts around that? And if you're currently mentoring somebody, how is the relationship between you guys?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think there was definitely a transition. At one time, actually, I mentioned everyone's names in case people want to look them up and follow them on Twitter because they're awesome people. But John Montgomery asked me for a reverse mentorship at some point. So he's a very high-ranking individual at Microsoft. He was the PM of, what did we call it, Visual Studio for a while, and now he's off in AI land. I'm not sure what his actual title is now, but he wanted like ground up feedback from basically what his org was experiencing, and that was a really, really interesting and valuable relationship, because I realized it's almost like he was doing customer data with one of the little people who works for him, because he had, 300 PMs or something reporting to him. Probably, I make up numbers all the time, so don't take that literally. But the fact that when you're, especially like managers or these really important people, they actually do want to know what you think as like a new person on the team who just onboarded, what your impressions are of everyone, like how helpful they are. Are you building a sense of community, or do you feel like outcast, like no one will help you? And like they want to make sure if they find those problems, they can fix them. So like it was, I think, really valuable for him to hear. And I love mentoring interns for exactly the same reason. I want to know if they're like feeling included, if they feel like they can ask questions, because so many people are too scared to ask questions, because there's been so many articles written on this. Like they don't want to seem dumb or incompetent, or like they didn't try to find the answer, but like there's no way in so many cases that you could find the answer on your own, or it's inefficient for you to find the answer on your own. So creating like an open atmosphere where people can be like vulnerable about what they don't know is like so key. And I think like much of that is like the core of mentorship. Like, can you just openly ask questions? Right before the live stream started, I was like, ask me anything. I'll figure out how to handle the question. And like, I don't know. I kind of strongly believe in asking questions. That's all. Ask me what you really want to know.
All right, cool. So I think we kind of assume that probably the people that are watching right now, or the people that will be watching after we have streamed, know what mentorship is. Perhaps as a mentor or somebody who has been a mentee before, can you kindly, like in your own words and your own understanding, what is mentorship according to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to making sure you can help with your mentees' goals in whatever way they need. So I kind of mentioned there's a ton of different types of mentorship, and it might be career, it might be occupational therapy in the form of venting, or just the transfer of knowledge and experience through like conversation. Like, I've been down that road before, don't make the same mistakes that I made, kind of conversation. I love stories like that. So it means defining it is going to be very adaptive to what the mentee's needs are. I'm a strong believer that the mentee should really define what their goals are and what they want to improve on or work on or focus on. Because that's the point, you never want to give advice that people were not looking for. That's no fun. There's a series on Pluralsight by Jason Alba that is How to Be a Better Mentor. He also has one on how to be a better mentee, which is also very good. And he takes you through basically like a 5-point checklist, where it's just what are the mentee's goals? What are their expectations? What is the time commitment? So that you can provide what you're comfortable with, and they can decide if that's useful enough to them, and if they want you as a mentor and everything. And yeah, there's a few more points that I won't list off the top of my head, because that's why they're a checklist, so I don't have to remember them. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if Letty wants to ask a question, or should I proceed, Letty?
A question. I have a lot of questions. Kendra knows,
okay,
like,
cool.
we could go the whole day.
We'll pretend that I do.
I know that you're a senior program manager. Some people at home may not know what that is or what you do. And we know what Visual Studio is, but what do you do specifically? What are your titles? I think I forgot to mention what your titles are.
Sure.
So can you please let us know more about that?
I love this. I get to like uncomfortably brag about how far I've gotten. So the senior promotion at Microsoft and probably a lot of other companies in tech comes at about the 4th or 5th year. So this was my 5th time being promoted at Microsoft. So we have a PM1 band, and that's probably usually lasts your first 1 or 2 years, and then the PM2 band will last 1 to maybe 3 years, depending on your performance, what you can get in, what you can represent for your product group, how much can you get documentation, are you on point for things, can you answer the questions, how well do you know the product, how well can you motivate partner teams to do what you want instead of what they want. Don't tell anyone we think like this, but that's kind of what it comes down to. And yeah, so I was able to scheme away and get get that figured out. And a lot of seniors also. So it comes. I'll be 5 years in September. This September. So it came about about the 4-year point for me. And I had 2 internships before that, so I had a bit of extra knowledge and understanding of in a network of the area. So yeah, you can judge that as it may. I probably had an advantage to get it in 4 years, but yeah, I think actually my boss would say, Scott Hunter gave me a really good definition, was a senior is someone I know I can drag and drop and put on any product with any team, and I know they'll figure it out. they'll do the work if it needs customer development, if it needs better documentation, if there needs to be fundamental design changes, if we need more resources put on the project, they'll figure it out and they'll communicate that up. So that's what I was working towards for the past few years to try to get to that level. And then for some reason, I convinced him that I was at it, and he worked out.
That's pretty awesome. You only had like what, 2 years experience, and then you got promoted.
4 years.
When post 4 years, and some posts say that you need 6 years experience.
Sorry, yeah. So I was promoted. This is the 5th band, so I was promoted 4 other times. Sorry if that was confusing.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
Been climbing my way up corporate America.
It's clearly working out.
Well, this show is called Women in Tech, and we like to focus on, how you as a woman have gone through some challenges through the tech. So have you gone through any challenges? And if you have, how did you overcome them?
Oh man, I'm still overcoming things. Asking questions was a big one in the very beginning. I think there's still like a lot of awkwardness sometimes between, especially because I'm a PM. So I'll point out like awkward things. So I wonder if John would be okay if I share this morning. Yeah, I don't know. We closed a ticket and I needed to kind of talk to my dev like, hey, we didn't actually check this in. This was not the feature that we asked for, and they can't do this today. Yeah. So we needed to unmark it as completed publicly. And sometimes it's hard to question, like principal or senior developers, if they say they checked a feature and they marked it complete, and I say that's not what the customer really wanted.
Yeah.
And it's just not, and you have to figure out how to. This is where a little bit of like charisma and silliness and cracking jokes and humor come in really handy for when you're working with people. So you can kind of just ask them, and if you have a relationship developed, I mean I didn't pause at all, kind of reaching out to my developer team, but questioning people on decisions they've made, working through them with designs, especially when you disagree, and creating a discussion rather than an argument that has like customer data backing all of it, and instead of just like your opinion, and making sure it doesn't seem like you're expressing an opinion. Try to only be like the customer voice in the room instead of just like, well, I hate it. It's not that. It's hard to be convincing with that argument. All of that was like a weird thing I needed to learn. Like they don't teach you that in a lot of schools. I think there might be some program management classes, but a lot of this is like weird people skills that you just got to pick up along the way, and it's really vague. But I also kind of love that it's that. It's a strange collection of skills, like convincing people, getting them to agree with you. And like following a logical argument back and forth, weighing like pros and cons of what to check in and what not to. It's interesting. I wish we had more like team-based activities. Like keep in mind for students out there who are working, some of your team-based activities are going to be a way more accurate representation of what it's like to work outside of school, like when you get into your professional careers, because you're always going to be working with a team. There's almost never like that one person who can do all of the everything by themselves. That's kind of a myth that we like to hold up. Everything is team-based and team dynamics. So it's fascinating. That was kind of something that it just felt like a huge learning curve. And when you have no power or knowledge because you're new for like, and it takes like a year or so to know the technology enough, to know the customers enough, to know your network enough to have an opinion, it can be really hard to feel like you're making a difference, or like you have any say in what's going on around you, or like even if you like delivered value like that week or that quarter or anything like that, it's hard to feel that accomplishment.
Yeah, and you're still going through that. You're trying to learn your way around that still.
Yeah, I definitely had to restructure what I feel like I've accomplished, because it's less like I turned in a research paper and got an A. Like you don't have anyone to give you an A anymore. You just have work. Like you don't get a grade at the end of the semester. And adjusting to that took a really long time, and I spent a lot of days being pretty demotivated because of it. But I think I reoriented myself pretty well. Now I've identified more of what does give me energy and satisfaction in my job. And I think it's really personal for everybody. So a lot of it is like working with mentees and interns and feeling like, at least for this one person, I got them unblocked, or I made them feel better when they were not feeling good, or I boosted their confidence, or I gave them advice that like helped their presentation or something like that. That's what I can look forward to as like an incremental thing that is that good feeling. There's lots of product stuff too, like I nailed that talk, or that demo was great, or I got 100 likes on Twitter because we checked in a feature and it was really good. But yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm actually glad that I'm one of those mentees, so I can like learn a few things from you. Maybe a lot, who knows? So there are questions on YouTube that we're going to ask right now. One from Lynette Anthony Handermark. She's asking, how do you mentor people who don't know what their goals are or what they are looking for?
I like this one because this is like most people, right? What student really knows what they want? I barely know what I want. So part of that is also figuring it out. I think, especially recently, one of the things I've asked mentees is what gives you energy? What sparks joy? It's the Marie Kondo of your professional career. And that takes talking it through, at least for me. Not everyone processes who they are and their career and their self-identity and what they want, maybe their purpose in life. I don't know, that's a lofty goal, but not everyone processes the same way. When I was in college, I did a lot of journaling, especially towards the end, especially when I was transitioning from like learning French into building programs and coding, and what did I want? What did that mean? How do I relate to everything? What do I want to spend? Careers are long. I could have a 40-year career in something. What should I choose? Or should I choose like 4 different careers and spend 10 years in each? There's a ton of different possibilities out there. And deciding what you want and all of that, and kind of making that 5-year plan is also, I think it's actually it can be pretty fun as a process. So I love kind of going through that with mentees and figuring out what gives them energy.
Yeah.
I need to get better at it. I think I imprint on mentees a little bit, so I feel like they either like the same things that I do, or at least while we're talking, we pretend we both we're all motivated the same way. And I need to get better at being more of a listener, I guess.
Awesome. I think I have a question before you proceed to another question, Letu. Not to defend the mentees, however, what happens if I want a mentor, but I really don't know what I want to do? I mean, IT is broad, computer science is broad. I'm just at a point where I really don't know which path do I actually want to take. But I really know that I want a mentee to kind of guide me. So how do you approach that situation per se?
Are you asking from a mentor's perspective?
From
Or
a mentee's perspective, and I'm asking a mentor that, hey, I know I want to be in tech, right? There's IT, it's broad, the CS is broad, but I really don't know what path do I actually want to take currently. So if you're a mentor, how do you approach that situation?
Yeah. I don't want to repeat the answer that I gave before, but I would still be kind of leaning into what does the mentee enjoy doing, and I definitely encourage them to talk with people in a ton of different professions, because it is really broad. So if you want to be in IT management or program management or systems engineer or operational engineer or something like that, I definitely suggest reaching out to those people and asking what their day-to-day job seems like. And as a mentor, you should definitely work your network in your mentee's favor. So ask them, Letho, if you want to talk to anyone. I know docs writers, I know cloud developer advocates. I can hook you up. You can grab a one-on-one with them. But like, make sure, actually I think that was one of the points on the 5-point checklist that I mentioned. It's make sure they have the network that they can use to their advantage. So if you want to go really broad, there's a ton of stuff that I don't know about other jobs. I can answer really in-depthly about program management at like Microsoft, at a large company, but for things outside of that, especially if you want to explore, I'd use a mentor to broaden your network.
Awesome. Thanks. Later you can continue with YouTube questions or Facebook questions.
Okay. I think we have one more question on YouTube. So Meleza says, on top of Lynette's question, is it difficult to mentor people who do not have goals and are insisting on not having goals?
I don't think it's difficult.
Is it my network maybe?
I also thought it's mine. It's not. Kendra, are you okay? I think we lost Kendra.
Hey, sorry, was that me?
Okay, cool. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm so sorry about that. Okay.
No problem.
Let's see. The question was, right, thank you. Is it difficult for people who insist on not having goals? I honestly think that like mentorship and everything is such a longer journey than I thought it was. So
Wait, it's
Um,
happening again.
did we lose her again?
Yeah.
sorry about that. I don't know what's happening. Um, I was saying I think it's fine for to be in a certain point in your career where you don't have goals and you're just looking at what is interesting to you kind of casually and enjoying life. I think that's fine. You don't have to constantly be in a state of self betterment or anything like that. It's okay to
Mm.
definitely give yourself breaks. There's no limit on how long these breaks can be. They can be years. It's okay. Um, I would ask, do they need a mentor at that stage if they don't want to work on themselves or towards a goal? I'd say maybe we can like break, and if you're like in a place in the future where you're still where you're interested and you want to keep working on something, they can always reach out later and kind of postpone it. Gosh, that's
Yeah.
especially relevant in today in the modern in the modern world. It's been, I'd say everyone in quarantine should give themselves a little break. So that's really okay.
Okay, so are you like mentorship specific? Do you mentor like tech people only, or do you go out into other careers or just life in general?
Um, yeah, it's been tech only for quite a long time. I'd
Mm.
say I
What?
worked what?
Okay, she froze.
Just yelled what and then froze. Um, cool. Yeah, I think I've mostly been on just tech people.
Mm.
But tech kind of it definitely bleeds into like their whole lives, and we talk about family stuff or when they're going to move and like just other things that they're dealing with that might be stressing them out that they need to talk through or vent about. I'm a little bit of a therapist, just a teensy, mostly a mentor, teensy bit of therapy in between because
Yeah.
sometimes people just need someone to listen. So
Mm, true.
I'm happy to.
Have ah, sorry?
Oh, I'm happy to do that. That's all.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because sometimes even at work, like you said, when you first came into the workplace, you didn't think you'd find any friends, but now that you do have friends, do you feel like you're in that space where you can just vent about things that happen at work and people don't understand? Maybe your family doesn't understand what you going through at work, and you have the friends that you have at work to vent to and just say, "Oh my word, I can't get this and
Yeah,
this straight." And
it's so
maybe
much
just
more
like,
therapeutic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
have like a coach session and sit down and talk about that or something?
Yeah, we have like a meme chat where we post ridiculous stuff and just
Yeah.
we get lunch a lot and like virtually we have a recurring lunch and everything. A lot of the people that I mentioned before and that.
So
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so it definitely turns into venting sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about the work friends is the validation that you can get because you can
Mm.
tell like your partner is something like, hey, this thing is driving me crazy at work, but they don't like know. But if you tell your work friend that, they'll be like, oh, we know they are the worst.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
know, and it feels
Yeah.
that like you're not the only one who struggled with this thing or this person or this
Mhm.
team or this bug, and like it feels really good. I like work friends. I hope everyone can have that kind of thing.
Yeah. I also hope to have work friends in the future. So there's one more question coming from YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Spelele is asking, how is it like being a senior uh, of okay in okay, wait, sorry. How is it like being a senior in one of the most important roles ever in the Microsoft team? don't you get overwhelmed and scared whether you're making the right choices for the team?
Yeah. First off, hi Savelle. I hope what were you working on? The swag.io library is going well. Sorry, we were working together on a thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'd say I got more overwhelmed and scared when I was earlier. And a lot of that was just because of the uncertainty that I had in the product space. And we didn't have things like, we didn't have a lot of telemetry checked in. We didn't have like performance tests. So I didn't know if some of our designs were going to affect hundreds of thousands of people in a negative way. So um, I mostly work on the Test Explorer, and I think some of my early things that really worried me was I was like, oh my gosh, we just have to check in these designs without being able to really know how they were going to affect thousands of people. I talked relentlessly with probably hundreds of customers when I was checking in that new design over the course of like 9 months. I talked with MVPs, like our Microsoft Valued Professional Network. I talked with tons of people online. I had people use it in the team, but like honestly, you're taking sort of a gamble that like what you have designed is going to work out, and you don't really feel super confident until you've pushed something at least once, and then like iterating after that is so much easier. So we actually rewrote the Test Explorer in Visual Studio 16.2, and that was a major time. I think I was a year or a year and a half into working at Microsoft, so I was kind of still, that's actually still new in PM territory. It takes forever to kind of get a handle on things. And I remember talking to my dev lead, like, I don't know if I should just dig in my heels here, but I don't like this. And I was like totally, totally nervous about some of the things we were checking in. But luckily they kind of, that nervousness was actually helpful because there was a design point where I was like, do we have to do this? Because it feels really weird. And then they were like, well, maybe we can actually detect cases where we don't have to show this. Specifically what I'm thinking was we had a little plus symbol showing in the Test Explorer. So it would discover like 100 tests, but if you had theory tests, we might not be able to discover all of them at that point. So we just had like a random plus symbol there to say like, we've discovered at least this many tests. There might be more, we don't know. And I was like, I don't want that. That doesn't seem like a good, a very like reliable feeling to give customers. And I was so nervous about checking that in. Hi, Alanda.
She's back.
You're
Okay.
muted.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, I'm back. Something went funny. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that.
No problem.
What was I saying? So yeah, we just ended up being able to detect a little bit more accurately for the majority of cases if they had theories or not. So we could say definitely, okay, there's 100 tests here, no more, no less, and we had like an exact number. And I'm so glad we worked that out because otherwise everyone would have seen that little plus symbol. It's a weird thing to be scared about, but if you know like 300,000 people are going to see it in the next few days, it's like, is this gonna look dumb? You really want to know that kind of thing. But that honestly got better with time, and having the people with me, having a dev lead with awesome experience who like actually listens to his PM's worrisome anecdotes, and yeah, just people who have shipped experiences before made it a lot better. So it gets better.
Questions I can add on what Kendra was saying. Maybe just to ask, because you say that you've worked with a team and you are the senior program manager. So have you ever felt like you weren't doing good enough? Did you ever feel like you wanted to give up at some point? And if you did, what brought you back up from that state?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Oh man. Yeah, I think maybe during my first year, I had switched topics a few times, or I had switched areas of PM coverage, and I was kind of lost. I didn't know if that was like my fault. I didn't know what area I should settle on. Part of that was kind of management also not knowing what I should lean into and what I would enjoy doing, because I also didn't know. And they want to watch out for you, but they want to allow you to try different things. But it also felt like everything I was working on was like up in the air and changing every 3 months. But like, so I think it was an uncomfortable thing to live through. But I think the way that was actually just a necessary like building experience kind of thing. I had no idea that what I was doing would be useful in the future. Um, and if I could talk to myself back then, I would be trying to like say, just like slow down and give yourself more credit. Like,
Yeah.
even if you feel like you're not having a huge impact, you are picking up skills and you have no idea how useful they're going to be in the years to come. So those first few months was when I made some of my first videos for programming .NET Core and VS Code when it was like super new in 2016 or whatever. It had just we had just like enabled C# support in VS Code, and it was gonna be big, but it was a little bit weird to install it. Because there were just strange things. You had to close and like reopen the editor and open a CS file in order for OmniSharp to even start reloading. There were little switcheroos that we needed to document. And when I didn't know that video making process was going to come in crazy handy for all of the other, I've been in like hundreds of videos now, and learning about production and getting more comfortable with like myself on camera and working with a mic and a script and trying to crack geeky jokes. It all actually handy when I thought I was just like being a weirdo. I don't know. But it was okay. And another thing I worked on was like I designed some of the landing pages for the .NET documentation. I'm sure they've been redesigned by now, but I got to talk with a bunch of different teams and some of our amazing docs writers when I was doing that, and that gave me a bunch of background on how hundreds of thousands of people learn about our products because they hit those documentation pages on learning C#, on installing .NET and all of these things. And I didn't feel like I was having a huge impact on that, but I know how it works, and I know the importance of documentation, and all of that like carried through and flowed forward. So I think a huge challenge was like not valuing myself and my journey and like my learning, and that it would take a while, and just kind of being hard on myself unnecessarily. And I think everyone early in career does that. Yes? No? Maybe so?
Me, I'm still a student, so I don't really know about early career stuff. Yolanda may have a point on that because she is actually working now. So maybe in a year or two I'll relate more to that. But for now, Yolanda, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I agree with what she just said. I don't have anything to add. However, just a question, and I just want to backtrack a little bit, on when Kendra was still a mentee. Sorry, everyone. I have to do this. So what are the lessons that you have learned when you were still a mentee, and you are applying now as a mentor? Because I believe this is like from mentee to mentor. So I just wanted to find out that from you.
What did I learn as a mentee? I think when I first started, I need to like talk things out if I feel worried about something or whatever. And I think as a mentee, I realized that I just needed someone to listen at a certain point. And the fact that I did have several people in my life who are willing to do that, I'm really thankful for. So now I want to pay that forward for sure. And sometimes just be sensitive on if my mentee needs someone to listen, and less less almost career advice. Like it could be anybody, it could just be a solid friend. But if that's what they need, kind of be sensitive to that, and don't tell them, don't act like you can solve all of their problems, and you have all of the answers, because that actually prevents them from learning how to solve it themselves. And it's way more helpful if you just ask them questions that get them towards an answer. One of my bosses, Andrew Hall, was amazing at doing this. He would lead me to solve my own problems every week. And I felt bashful about it because it was just teaching me that I could have solved this on my own, right? But he was just really good at it. I hope I'm good at that someday. But that's something I'm definitely going to try to bring forward.
Yeah.
Awesome. Later, can I ask, and then you ask afterwards?
You can ask.
From your experience, how do you believe? I think I already asked you what, according to you, mentorship is, but how do you believe the mentee mentorship relationship should actually work? I understand we have to listen to each other. We have to add value into each other's lives, if not careers. But how do you, in your own experience, how do you believe the relationship should actually work?
Yeah. I think a lot of the points you've already touched on, like making sure the mentor is also learning from the mentee. Like if both people aren't benefiting from the relationship, it'll get like awkward, or someone will want to quit or ghost someone, which is like the worst possible way you could end a mentor-mentee relationship. Definitely like plan your ends. Like they graduate or they got their first job, and you celebrate that they accomplished their goals, and say like, if you want to reach out to me later, that's great, but I consider our mentorship over because I have no more to teach you. You know it all. And so that's actually like a stage in, I'll refer back to Jason Alba's How to Be a Better Mentor series. It's a really great way to plan those, set the goals, set expectations, set time commitment, plan the end of the the mentorship.
The mentorship. Okay.
Did I cover what you were looking for?
So what do you mean plan the end of the mentorship? Shouldn't it be an occurring thing? So it should reach a point where it ends. Just asking. My mentor is probably listening right now, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be decided right out. A lot of my mentees are summer interns. I think I just told Letho I have 14 more interns coming this summer. So I'm a little bit swamped, but I love it. So those usually end at the end of summer. So we meet several times throughout the summer. Definitely at like midpoints, we have kind of on track, not on track discussions, and we figure out what we can do to get them on track, to make sure their whole summer is successful. And then we have like definitely an end, like send off, that usually includes like, did you get the return offer or not? Or are you going to keep applying? What are you going to do in the next year? But usually that's the expectation, because then they'll be super distracted with school and stuff, and they can be focused on that instead of thinking about their career all the time. So that's kind of time blocked with the summer. Other stuff is, I think I've had a few say like they wanted to find a job, and so once they graduated and found a job, I was like, cool, see, please reach out to me if you ever want to reach out again, but like we accomplished your goal, and I think this is a good time to break it off. It's sad, but you also know like having a definite end is really helpful, because these people, you might not like retire with them. You don't know if they're going to be lifelong friends, because it's a different relationship than like a friend, like a buddy. You probably won't be at their wedding. Like you're a little bit more professional on the spectrum than a buddy. Of course, I think some of my mentors would be at my wedding, but that's because we got into the friend category. But so having a definite end is better because it makes people know that it's not that you like lost faith in them or ghosted them or anything like that, because that's also really important to people. So like having that discussion, breaking up discussion, could be really helpful.
Oh, wow.
I know. Weird phrase. Never mind. I should take that back.
I was actually just about to ask about, the relationship between a mentor and a mentee. Can it be, but I feel like you've already answered it. I just wanted to ask, is the relationship strictly professional? Like, is it, because, you can't, sometimes you just can't talk to your friends about some stuff that you talk to your mentor about. You can't vent to them because they wouldn't understand what you're going through with regards to your career path. So with your mentor, you feel like you've kind of found a friend in tech or a friend in your career path or whatever. So yeah, I think you've answered that already. So yeah, I think it's another question on YouTube. But yeah, you can go ahead and talk.
I can talk. As I warned you, I can talk about anything forever. Yeah, I would say make sure not all mentors are going to want you to vent all the time. They might have a different, like more professional, especially if they're like a manager. I'd suggest not venting to your manager. It depends on your relationship though. But what you say when you're feeling anger or frustration or all of that stuff might not be how you want them to think of you when they're thinking about your career and what to put you in charge and all of that stuff. You might be able to grow more if you haven't kind of affected their perception that way. So another reason to broaden your mentorship network and have people for different needs for what you need there. I would say I especially want all of my mentees when we initially reach out to think of me absolutely professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very big deal.
Yeah.
If we get into the friend area, I don't know. It's hard to describe how any kind of relationship develops if we just have a ton in common and I need to start telling them about my life and my goals, and like I start putting that more on like a peer relationship and that kind of thing. I think that's how it would develop. I don't expect most to develop that way because there's so many people that need specifically like tech and career help that I don't expect to have like 14 friends coming in this summer. I don't think I'm even cool enough for all of my interns coming in to want to really be my friend. I'm very I'm a certain person. I don't know if they'll like my sense of humor or whatever. So I don't expect them to, but I do think I can help them professionally, even if they don't like my jokes. I don't know. I can be kind of a geek. I know.
Yeah, you'd always want a friend to like and laugh at your jokes. Otherwise, we can't be friends.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't. Yeah.
Well, there's a few questions on YouTube, I think.
Sure.
Are there? Yeah, so it says, how do you convince people to not give up and especially to stay in the tech field?
I think that's really different for who I'm talking to. Because in some ways it can definitely be, I think something that was reassuring was that it is economically powerful. You will be in a good job market. There are fewer programmers available than what we need. That's kind of that would be a practical angle. I think very practically. That's kind of why I did the job change and stuff. Oh crap, I need a job. I have so much student debt. It was really scary. So that was part of one thing that also attracted me to tech, that even if you don't like it or temporarily are struggling, it's still going to pay off as far as even it'll kind of shore up your savings, your economic power. A lot of tech jobs can be kind of life changing in that way. and that's just the job market is a pretty big incentive. Um, and I think that kind of gives people time to. I totally questioned if I would stay in tech forever. I didn't know if the kind of problems that I would be encountering every day like are genuinely interesting, or if they're too computery. Like maybe I really just want to help people. Like why didn't I decide to be like a nurse or like a doctor? Like so I don't know. You could do if you could do anything in life, why wouldn't you do something that's even cooler? Like why am I banging my head against a keyboard every day? But honestly, it's it's a unique position of impact because I do check in small changes that affect millions of developers that then go write software that runs on billions of machines. So there's an economic thing, there's an impact thing, and I do think it gets better. I think it is hardest when you're earlier in career. Um,
Yeah.
I hope it gets better for everyone. I mostly have, my own experience and some of and like my network of experience to kind of look at. But I do think it gets better as you get a little bit more established. And I kind of think that might be true for a lot of jobs. So it's also hard to know, like, what if I just switched into electrical engineering? Would I be that much happier than software engineering? And you don't know. Um, and you don't know until you give it time, either way.
Yeah.
It's a hard question. That's probably not super inspirational to people in tech, but I got to a place where I really do enjoy my job every day. So
Yeah.
it's and what that is will be different for everybody. So it's hard to
Yeah,
know.
we won't go through the same experiences, although I'd want to go back to the point where you say that being a mentor doesn't necessarily mean telling the mentee what to do. You have to let the mentee like go through experiences to learn, because we learn best from experiences, right? So how would you go about that? Like how would you not actually guide your mentee into taking the same path that you took exactly?
You have
Yeah.
such good questions. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me on this. It also helps me like think through my experience and see it in a different perspective. One of the hardest things is seeing mentees struggle. It's like 10 times worse than yourself struggling because you know they have to help themselves, and you just kind of have to be there to support them, but you know
Yeah.
that they'll have to make their own way.
So you want to act like a more of a support structure than I don't know what word to use, but you don't want to like spoon feed. You
Yeah,
want to be support structure. Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And
I get that.
that's interesting. That kind of brings in there's a philosophy of like sustainability. You don't want to create mentees that like are entirely dependent on your every word and for little decisions and how do I do all of this stuff, because that's not building their confidence in themselves. That's building their confidence in you. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why you have to go the route of helping them solve their own problems and just asking them the right questions, so because they have the answers, and getting them there.
Hmm.
I'm not sure I answered the question. What was the question again? Sorry.
You answered the question.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if I remember what the question was because we took a lot of a lot
We
of
took a lot
routes.
of twists and turns.
Awesome. Can I ask my question?
Yeah.
At what point did you decide that, you know what, I actually need a mentor? At what point? Because at some point I feel like a lot of people are saying they need mentors. They don't necessarily need mentors. So at what point did you decide to say, you know what, I actually think I need to reach out. I really need a mentor. And that applies to later as well.
Ooh, yeah. Um, For me, I think I realized that the people I was talking to didn't have enough experience in the areas that I was interested in, because I realized what they were working on and the problems that they solved in the past were really different from what I was doing. So I needed to talk with someone who was more in the area of where I wanted to be. So Glenn was a really big example. I don't know if he's watching this, but Glenn became like my ideal PM for a bit. I loved how invested he was in the software and his prototyping, and he was just an awesome mentor who really listened. And he did the question thing. He actually, I actually asked him to mentor me on mentoring, and he talked about the question thing, which is just making sure you just ask questions and have people come to their own answers. So that's when I reached out, was when I realized the people who I was talking with didn't have the experience in the category that I needed.
Should a mentor be, like, for example, if you want to be a data scientist, just making an example, a software engineer, should that mentor specifically be in that field if you really like want to reach out and want a mentor? I'm just asking.
Yeah. I want to hear Letha's answer about reaching out. If
Oh, okay, cool.
I can
Now,
get to that though.
my reason for reaching out was because I got into tech without the intention of really getting into tech. I wanted to be a chef, but then life had other plans. So me getting into tech was like, what am I doing here? I don't even know what I'm doing. So I just need, especially because I'm doing my third year and next year I might possibly get a job. So I need someone who is in the front to tell me how they actually got there, even though I won't take the exact path, but I just want to know what challenges, what do I need to do, how do I prepare myself for challenges. And especially I have a woman in tech, so I get to relate more. And relating even further is because Kendra's intention was not getting into tech. So now I have someone, now there's like a kind of a link. I have a relation. So now I kind of know what I not really what path I have to take, but I have an idea of how to go about taking that path. So yeah, that's why I need a mentor. Yeah, Yolanda, you were saying? No, it was Kendra.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
I
no,
should have written down your question. What was it again?
So you asking my question again? Should ask you the question again.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I was asking, what was I really asking? Hey, I have a lot of questions at the back of my mind.
I thought I'd remember it, but I got like, yeah.
Oh yeah, so I was asking, should, let's take you, we want to be a software engineer later. I'm just gonna make an example of it later. So should you reach out to a mentor who's in the software engineering field, or you can just reach out to just a person who's in tech, but not necessarily the field that you actually want to be in. So yeah, that's the question.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that was going to be a bit of repeating it. The mentee should kind of know what they want to learn and what their goals are. And kind of, it's a little scary when mentees reach out because you don't know what they're going to ask for, or how they want help. So sometimes it's just a network. Sometimes it's just like, where should I actually apply? And they just need like a careers.microsoft link that is the right one that they wanted. And that kind of thing. And sometimes it's like just general like resume help, all kinds of things. I've done a lot of mock interviews with people who are like devs and considering PM and just want to take themselves through what the problems will be like. So as far as like how to choose what mentor and what field, I think it's again up to the mentee. But also if you don't know, I would say also just reach out generally and just say you're like exploring. that's okay. You can always have like one-off, like, hey, can we just grab coffee and let me ask about your job? That's so much easier for someone to say yes to than like, hey, can can you be my mentor? Because mentorship is a little bit like longer term and you might not know. So definitely like feel free to I'd suggest that people should be able to explore and
Mhm.
Did we lose her again?
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
is that my internet again? Sorry. I'm so sorry. What's going on? Did you hear the end of that?
No.
No.
No. Okay. It was make sure that you're broadening your network and you can always ask for like 30-minute syncs with people before you ask them for like more of the formal mentor relationship. That means you're going to meet with them regularly for a longer term and you have a bit more expectations on them. So I just suggest kind of broadening your network, and if you really click with someone and you're interested in what they do and they have the experience, that's who you can then like say like, I'd love to meet with you again, and bring up mentorship maybe later.
Okay, and just one of the last questions from me. What are your thoughts around, sponsorship? Would you prefer mentorship over sponsorship? So sponsorship, I believe it's when a person speaks about you in rooms that you haven't like set your feet in, for example. So would you prefer to be a sponsor to somebody in that regard, or would you actually prefer to be a mentor, or it will actually depend on what the mentee actually wants? It's just a question.
Yeah, I think if you're a mentor, you're probably automatically a sponsor. You should always have your success also depend and incorporate the success of your mentee. So you are like fundamentally linked. That their success means your success is a definite thing. So anytime, especially if they're actually my mentees are in the same area that I work in, I will constantly be like, hey, check out their doc. They did some great customer data. Actually, I was just talking with so and so and they had a great insight. Like, definitely promote them as much as possible so that they get a network, introduce them to your colleagues, that kind of thing. I think that's kind of what sponsorship is. I'm not familiar with sponsorship outside of the mentor mentee relationship. It sounds like that might be just like, I don't know, some offhand advocacy of people you know and who you might recommend for a job or what project they might be good on because they have an area in there. I'm a little less familiar with that.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Cool. We are a bit over time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
5 minutes.
no.
And we need to end it off. But quickly, Lebo Hang is asking, what's Glenn's surname or Twitter handle?
Condron, I can tweet it in a second. He's awesome. He does all this ASP.NET stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Wow. Without any further questions for now, we'll ask more questions on Twitter or whenever we get to talk again. I think it's about time we close it off, right?
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Any last words from her before we close it off? Then we can officially close it off.
Mm.
Any last words from you, Kendra? For people who are seeking mentors, for mentees who are still confused, for mentors who are mentoring mentees that are confused. Yeah, just any last words around the mentorship issue, and yeah, just talk to us. Talk to the mentors that are currently watching or that will be watching. Just talk to us.
Cool. Well, thank you both first for having this conversation. I always get to discover stuff when we do this kind of thing. To all the mentees out there, give yourselves a break. Write down your own goals so that you can hold yourself accountable and it's easier to reach out. Broaden your network, ask for that coffee, just 30 minutes, like let's chat. And then you can keep branching out if this just the small steps to
Yeah.
go forward. Mentors out there, you're allowed to have checklists. I definitely recommend Jason Alba's How to Be a Better Mentor course on Pluralsight. I'm like totally pushing his course.
You are.
Even if you don't do that, at the very least, there are mentorship checklists that you can go through just so that you are setting up yourself and your mentee for success. So it's setting goals, scheduling occurrence, planning the end of your mentorship, that kind of stuff. It's setting expectations. All of that stuff takes a lot of burden off of your mentee, and it'll make you a better mentor. I think that's my 2 cents.
Well, we
Awesome.
hope
Awesome
we
stuff.
hope they took from that and that they'll use it
Awesome.
for
Thank
the
you
mental
so much for
process.
having me.
Thank you for taking your time. We know that you're busy. Thank you for taking your time just to talk to us and have a conversation with us. We learned a lot from you, and hopefully the people who are watching too also learned a lot from you. So we can close it off now, Yolanda, if you do the honors.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. So, yeah, no, I really learned a lot. I hope we'll have a conversation around this with my mentor, who's currently watching, by the way. And to those who are seeking mentors, shoot your shot. It doesn't matter if that person is working at Microsoft, any other big corporate or FANG, just shoot your shot. You'll never know. You might be one of the mentees of the best developers or the best in the world in tech.
Yeah.
So just shoot your shot. And for those who are watching us for the first time, we do have other programs from Monday to Friday. 3 p.m. South African Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken. And you can just follow us on social media. We are Inspire SA, and we have so many things to actually inform you about, or you can learn from actually us. So yeah, Netu, what do we have tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow we have Power Thursdays where we add more power to your Thursdays. It's low code. So, anyone who's interested in that, and if you're watching this for the first time, you can just tune in tomorrow and learn more about low code. And it's going to be at 3 p.m. South African Standard Time, as always. Oh, we have
Awesome
a
stuff.
first
So
time watcher actually.
we have
So,
what?
please tune in. A first time watcher. Please tune in and watch
Awesome.
soon.
Yeah, no. Hopefully Kendra will also tune in from wherever she is to just watch us doing our own thing. So yeah, let's
Definitely.
just continue the conversation on social media at
Cool.
Inspire SA2 on Twitter. And let's probably talk about your experiences with mentorships. You're allowed to follow Kendra at Go The Up. If I'm not mistaken, it's just
Yeah.
there on the screen. Yeah, so you're allowed to follow Kendra, and you're allowed to actually, ask her to mentor you if possible, if she has the time to actually do that, because she's mentoring other people as well.
Yeah.
You're more than allowed to actually reach out to us if you want to be on the show. I know the Microsoft community in South Africa is currently watching. I saw that on Twitter. So if you want to be on the show and you want to talk to us, just reach out to us. Just reach out to anybody. We are allowing guests every week on our Inspire channel. So yeah, man, it's been a great ride. Thank you very much for coming to the show, Kendra.
Thank you for asking me. It's awesome.
Awesome
Bye.
stuff. Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Look, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and join the
Yeah.
notification gang. Come on, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got amazing content coming your line. So yeah, no, I've nearly lost our viewers. All right, cool. Bye.
Bye.
Baby, wait, I know that you're afraid, but it'll be okay if you just stay with me. And we can run from here, and we can disappear, and they won't find us where we are going, dear. So baby, hold on to me, 'cause I know How I wanna make